Behold, franchise killer! Ho, 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 ho.
Behold, franchise killer! Behold, franchise killer!
Welcome to Franchise Killer, a podcast where we pick movie franchises or wannabe franchises, review them film by film, and see where things went wrong.
All right.
Whoa, that was.
Was that like an elf screaming?
Yeah.
All right.
I thought about doing the loud elf voice, but then I didn't want to blow the mic out. 'Cause
Yeah, that's why
my-
I half committed.
My brain went dumb for a second, and I didn't think, oh, maybe I should lean back and do that. No, I was just deer in headlights. I'll just say something.
Hey, it worked, honestly, and I could hear the Will Ferrell in your voice, honestly.
I don't think you could. I think you're just being nice.
Well, you're new to that seat, so you got to get used to coming up with a new voice for it. So I could feel it. I felt
Well,
it.
then how come you always, up to this day, you look, I don't know, not ready with the voice that you
Because I never am, Reese. I never am. All right, guys. Well, as you may have noticed, I am not the usual host of the podcast. This week, we decided to mix up a little bit for our special Franchise Killer Christmas special. There's 2 specials in there, by the way.
Extra special.
Instead of the sweet and sultry voice of our fearless leader, Reese,
Sultry.
it will be I, David, who will lead this Christmas circus. And now, let's check out the elves we have with us today. Across from me, we have,
Reese.
and to his left, we have,
Irina.
and to my right,
Noah.
and currently sitting in the back of a room quality testing Jack in the Boxes because he's special, we have...
Santa!
Oh, I knew you were special, buddy. All right. In the movie we're...
AJ.
Oh, that's right. You have a name. And the movie we're going to be discussing today, this holiday season, is... Elf. Because that's the kind of voice you use whenever you're talking about Christmas movies.
Yeah.
A very, like, monster truck rally style voice.
You don't really have to explain yourself. You can just...
Oh! Elf!
Bonesaw.
Elf is ready. All right. Well, Elf, this movie has come out in 2003, directed by Jon Favreau.
Did come out?
It
Has
came
come
out. Elf came out in 2003. How about that?
I won't grammar police you.
Yeah, that's all right.
2003?
We're getting old. It was directed by Jon Favreau. Well, you might know his movies such as Made, probably not, Zathura, Iron Man 2, Cowboys and Aliens, Chef, The Jungle Book, and The Lion King, the newer remake, the
got a good-
live action one.
You got a good lineup.
I'd say it took a little bit of a dip right towards the end there, but I think it's more in an effort to really push technology forward for the future. I'm much more curious about what he does next than his Disney remakes.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think he does better when he does more down-to-earth style movies, which is ironic because he did a great job with Iron Man, and that is...
Chef.
Chef is
Chef
amazing.
is down to earth.
You keep making comments and then backtracking on them partway through your
Do I?
thought. Yeah.
Like what?
Just go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, don't.
Well, now I'm going to be in my head. Thank you.
No, don't.
Irina's just here slashing his tires.
Yeah.
It's like you're doing something wrong. Don't think about it.
No, you're doing great.
No, I'm gonna be great. I feel great. I am here to provide the elf-like energy that Will Ferrell tries to do in this movie, where everyone else is kind of sulking and sad or just normal, running through their boring life, and I'm here to infuse that energy.
I'm perfectly happy.
Did you say Cowboys and Aliens, by the way?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, I don't know why. That's the
A
one
movie we covered.
A slight whiff.
slight whiff. Not bad, just like
Swinging a
swinging an I like that. Put that on a shirt.
Well, this movie is going to be starring Will Ferrell, James Caan, Zooey Deschanel, Mary Steenburgen, Ed Asner, Bob Newhart, and a cameo from Jon Favreau himself. This is a star-studded cast for a movie that started off with very humble origins.
I would say it's hindsight star-studded.
You're right. Actually, at the time, very few of these.
Well, there's a couple of classic actors.
James Caan.
Yeah.
He was
Yeah,
he
Bob
was the big
Newhart.
name.
What a weird blend of a cast, by the way. You got like old Hollywood actors almost, and then there's a big gap, and then Will Ferrell, who is known for SNL and what was that, Old School?
No,
at the time.
Old School was not out yet. It was the same time as this.
I think this one.
There
Old
was
School
one
was
other movie
slightly
he had.
before. I think we checked this, I believe, and I think Old School's a little bit before this
You
one.
want to double check? You can't say
I'll
it
check
without
it again.
checking.
I'll
You're in
check
that
it again.
seat. I'm fairly certain they were the same year.
Same year, but Elf came out at the end of the year, 2003, Christmas time. But I'll check.
Whoa.
Yeah, Old School is February 2003. Elf was November 2003.
Gotcha. Well, I just know that all the marketing stuff they were talking about, how this was the first movie Will Ferrell was the lead in, and no one knew if he could lead a movie.
Yeah.
So this was the big test.
Seems weird to think that Elf was the first Will Ferrell lead movie. I always, like, for whatever reason, my headcanon has Anchorman
yeah.
predating this one, even though
Yeah.
it didn't.
A couple years later.
Yeah.
That is
one year
weird.
later, actually. It was 2004, so he really started starring in a bunch of stuff at this
Like
point.
that Jim Carrey early 90s pop-off.
Yeah.
Well, this movie was also written by David Barenbaum. You might not know him from the movies such as Zoom, Strange Magic, Haunted Mansion, and the Spiderwick Chronicles. None of that really matters, but it's him and one other guy, I don't think it's written on here, who really wanted to make this come to life. David Barenbaum being, this kid who grew up in Pennsylvania, moved over to LA and was like, I really want to make a Christmas movie that inspired my childhood. And that's kind of where this all took off. So it's important, I think, to list them on here.
I would say, I think Haunted Mansion is ever so slightly underrated. Not a good movie, but
Well,
Just
you
wanna
know,
throw
what
that
about
out
Spiderwick Chronicles?
I haven't seen it. I've heard it's okay, though.
All right, on this podcast, we first go over our thoughts on the film before revisiting it for the episode. Then we dive into the story, break it down bit by bit, and talk about the more significant moments. Then towards the end of the show, we give our brief reviews and numbered scores along with an analysis on the health of the franchise and whether or not this film hurt it. So Reese, have you seen Elf before?
Had I seen it?
Have you? Had you? Will you?
Yeah, I had seen Elf before. Did not see it in theaters. This was a movie. I know y'all all think that I show you all these movies.
You didn't show us this one.
Let's roll the tapes back. This is a movie where I'm taking credit for this one.
It wasn't you.
No, it. Oh my gosh.
Wait, how could... Wait,
For one,
It was a family movie. You had no money.
what year, though? What,
I don't know, Noah. I'm
It
gonna
was
stop.
2003.
I'm gonna stop you for a second.
2003.
I'm gonna stop you for a second. I definitely had allowance money, and I was definitely buying movies at the point. I remember buying Spider-Man,
this one.
which predates this. I remember buying Lord of the Rings, which predates this. The Matrix, movies like that. I had a movie collection. Elf was one of the movies I bought. I had the DVD. It was a white case.
Yeah, I
owned
remember.
it.
I remember the case. I
And-
just doubt that you were the one.
Was it
that
DVD
brought it
or
out.
was it a classic?
DVD.
All right.
I remember though, and I normally say I could be wrong, but I'm not wrong on this one. I remember putting this movie on, hoping against all hopes that we could finally add a movie to the Christmas canon because we just had our 4 or 5 that we always cycled, and I remember wanting to add another one to that list and being very pleasantly surprised by how good this one was. But I remember Mom and Dad were still not quite on its level at the time, so it's taken years to age.
You know,
I know you're salty. I can tell you're salty
here's
about
how
this.
I remember. Here's how
I think
remember the
Noah's up
story.
next. Noah,
Here's how
what's
I
your
remember
memory?
this story. I remember, you know, it was cold. It was winter time. I was in my room. We shared a room at this point under the covers, and I was thinking, hoping that can we please get a new Christmas movie? Mm-hmm. I'm kind of tired of the old ones that we've had.
Just imagine Noah,
I talked to Mom and said, "Hey, Mom, can we go to Walmart or Target and get a Christmas movie?" and she's like, "Sure, son,
Sure.
that's what she said.
sure, son." But
Meanwhile, Reese is
But I'm not-
running around aimlessly in the backyard.
He was.
Screaming. You were just screaming.
He had
Yeah.
mud on his hands and he was painting the walls with it.
It wasn't mud.
Oh no. Well, she said, "Well, here's the thing. I'm kind of low on money right now, so someone else is gonna have to pay for it."
And that's where Reese comes in.
And that's where Reese came
That
in.
big allowance money.
I went over to Reese. I was like, "Reese, You know what would be really cool if we got Elf for Christmas.
Yeah.
Now you might not remember this. I think a little soon after that you
And that's
hit
when
your
I
head on
held you
something.
down and I said, if you say this is your idea, I will kill you.
Yeah,
It's my idea.
you did say that. Now I'm strong enough to defend
And
myself.
then he ran to the store to buy it first.
All right, we have a third person here to that may be able to alleviate some of this
I think
stress.
she's
Well,
gonna be-
I don't think I
She's
will
going
be
to take
able
the middle
to.
ground, I think.
Well, honestly, I do not remember how we came to be watching this movie every Christmas. All I do remember is we didn't watch it in theaters. That's the only
that's
thing
true.
I know for sure.
Yeah, we did not.
I since then it's more associated with, you know, like our family will watch it. It's also a classic if you're having like a friends get together and people want to put on something Christmassy. This is just the easiest choice that everyone's usually on board with. And also reminds me of just before winter break going to school when teachers had nothing to give you after the tests. They would just be like, hey, let's watch Elf. And so
That's great.
It's a staple now.
Yeah, I
I
wish
don't
my
remember.
teachers did
I
that.
don't remember my first viewing of it.
Very memorable. Alrighty, well, AJ, let's go to you now. What is your memory of this movie? Do you have any connection?
Yeah, I know I didn't see it in theaters. It's not really my kind of cup of tea, I guess, but it's so well regarded. I just eventually, I know I saw it on TV at some point, I guess, but I don't know. I just remember the guy that's kind of like this, like a circus act in a box kind of deal, and everybody in society kind of thinks he's a moron or an idiot, but he ended up teaching everybody a kind of a moral lesson or something. And I don't know, but the black and white kind of dragged on, and
What?
David Lynch's style just
Eraserhead?
no Elephant Man.
Oh. I like how we all thought Eraserhead, though.
I should have known that because
Man.
I've seen that movie.
Elfalent Man.
Elfalent Man.
A bit of a stretch, maybe.
No, so Elf. A lot of my cousins loved this movie, loved it, as soon as it came out. So this movie was heavily hyped up for me. I don't remember exactly when the first time I saw it was, but definitely had seen it before.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I actually bought the DVD and gave it to you and said, you got to watch this. I don't know if you remember that.
You're all wrong. We saw it in the theater.
And together.
Well, funny enough for me, I did see it in theaters. I'm the only one here.
Dang, were you working there at the time?
No, not in 2003. Not before
Are
the
you
child
sure?
labor laws changed. Yeah, I was actually watching this. Irene and I were watching this. Reese, actually, you were there too. We were all watching it with my mom the other day, and it's a movie that is very close to my family's heart, which is one of the reasons I wanted to try to lead this one out. It's I remember my mom taking us after church one day, and it was I think it was later after it came out, but we had like a dollar theater we went to and watched it there, and I just remember being blown away by it as a kid. Just absolutely loved it. And my mom, who does not like Will Ferrell, loves this movie. So it's a good one. We watch it
think
every year. It's a
that-
staple.
That's a popular statement about this movie. There are people that don't like Will Ferrell, they still like Elf.
Yeah.
Breaks the boundary, which is why I think a lot of people like it.
Yeah.
People saying they don't like Elf or
Will Ferrell, they're wrong. I mean,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
sorry,
Who are you?
All right, well, let's go ahead and jump to
AJ.
the. God dang it. Well, let's go to that call to action. Reese, this is on you this time, buddy.
Oh man, this is
It's
It's
hard.
rough, isn't it?
no. I was gonna try to do your thing like. So this is franchise killer. So
I
we're-
didn't expect you to try to do it my way.
Yeah, so on this podcast, to keep the things going, we do need support. Not necessarily monetarily, any form of interaction helps push this podcast forward, especially from a moral standpoint. Just having comments and stuff and people interacting helps us think that, oh, people do care and people do listen.
Like
the best,
morale.
yeah, the best way you can show that support, though, is giving us a 5-star.
Teaching us right for wrong.
Yeah. The best way you can show that support for us is going to Apple and giving us a 5-star review. or anywhere else you listen to your podcasts, and there is a rating system. Just bumping that star up to 5 or whatever it may be just boosts us. And anytime that happens, we see our downloads spike in a nice way that gives us the warm and fuzzies, especially for Christmas time. So
The best way to spread Christmas cheer.
Is liking our podcast for all
Pity.
to see.
And sharing it throughout the world.
yeah. And if you want to give us a free Christmas gift for all the hours of podcasting that we've put out into the world, just giving us that rating goes a long way.
Yeah.
So thanks.
And also, we are giving this episode to you as a gift.
True.
And
It's there.
if you don't want to end up on Santa's naughty list, you better do it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Or Noah will come and spank you.
I will.
All right.
Maybe they want that.
He's got his hand ready.
Well, if it gets somebody to give us a 5-star review, I'll take it. Noah will take one for the team.
I've already spanked 12.
You're like one of those gunslingers where the fingers are just like ready to go.
They're jittering a little bit too.
Get over here.
That's a scorpion.
I know. And he pulls them in. He slaps them.
I don't think that's what he does.
On the butt. That's a little
Get a little bit of that. All
different
right.
kind of chains that.
Hey,
Yeah.
Reese, do you have that plot ready to go?
Oh, I'm the plot man.
Uh-huh,
too.
you are the plot man.
No human being has ever set foot in Santa's workshop. That is, until Buddy.
I hear you're going on a journey to the big city.
Can't wait to see my dad.
This might be the opportunity to find out who you really are.
Bye, buddy. Hope you find your dad.
Thanks, Mr. Narwhal. Papa says New York is pretty different. Sorry! Looks like a Christmas tree. Sorry I can't ride with you the rest of the way up. Well, have a good time. Oh, I forgot to give you a hug. Dad!
You look like you came from the North Pole.
That's exactly where I came from.
You have another son. You like sugar, huh?
Is there sugar and syrup?
Yes.
Then yes.
We can't leave him alone here. He's going to destroy the place.
Son of a nutcracker!
These guys are bad news.
Snowball.
Where did you say you were from?
Fruit spray? Wow.
Tomorrow morning, 10 a.m., Santa's coming to town.
Oh my God! Santa here? I know him. I know him.
On Christmas Eve, a baby at an orphanage crawls into Santa Claus' sack and is unknowingly
Why?
That's the word.
No.
I'm keeping it. Crawls into Santa Claus' sack and is unknowingly taken back to the North Pole. After the infant is discovered at the workshop, the elves name him Buddy after his diaper's brand label, and Papa Elf adopts him. Buddy is accepted by the elf community and grows up thinking that he is an elf, but soon learns he is really a human. Papa Elf explains that Buddy was born to Walter Hobbs and Susan Wells, and that Susan put him up for adoption prior to her death. Walter now works as a children's book publisher at the Empire State Building in New York City, and is unaware of Buddy's existence. Santa reveals that Walter is on the naughty list due to his selfishness, but suggests Buddy could help redeem him with some Christmas spirit. Buddy travels to New York and finds Walter at work, but Walter mistakes him for a Christmas gram messenger and has him ejected. Buddy heads to a local Gimbel's department store and meets Jovi, an unenthusiastic employee with whom he is instantly smitten. Hearing that Santa will be at the store the following day, Buddy redecorates the store overnight. However, upon realizing that the Gimbel's Santa is not genuine, Buddy unmasks him, causing a brawl in the store. Walter reluctantly bails Buddy out of the police station and takes him in for a DNA test, which confirms that Buddy is his biological son. Dr. Leonardo convinces Walter to take Buddy home to meet his stepmother, Emily, and half-brother Michael. Walter and Michael are unnerved by Buddy's strange behavior, but Emily insists that they care for him until he recovers, in quotes. Michael warms up to Buddy after they defeat a gang of bullies in a snowball fight and encourages Buddy to ask Jovi out on a date. During the date, the two fall in love. Meanwhile, Walter's publishing company is failing after their latest book flops. Walter's boss, Fulton Greenway, expects Walter to have a new book ready by Christmas Eve. Walter and his team secure a meeting with best-selling children's author Miles Finch, but Buddy interrupts the meeting and mistakes Finch, who has dwarfism, for an elf. Buddy unintentionally insults Finch before the latter attacks him and leaves the meeting, upon which Walter loses his temper and harshly disowns Buddy. Heartbroken, Buddy writes an apology note on an Etch-a-Sketch and leaves Walter's apartment. Upon finding Finch's notebook full of ideas, Walter and his team scramble to create a book to pitch. As Walter prepares to pitch the book to Greenway, Michael arrives and informs Walter of Buddy's departure. Realizing his mistake, Walter quits his job and walks out with Michael to find Buddy. Meanwhile, Buddy sees Santa's sleigh crash in Central Park, attracting a large crowd. Santa explains that his sleigh's engine is lost and cannot fly without it due to a shortage of Christmas spirit. Buddy finds the engine and reunites with Walter and Michael. Walter apologizes to Buddy for how he treated him and accepts him as his son. After he takes them to meet Santa, Michael takes Santa's list and reads it in front of television news cameras gathered outside the park, proving that Santa is real. A group of Central Park Rangers, who are angry at Santa for placing them on the naughty list, chase the sleigh as Buddy tries to reattach the engine. Jovi leads the crowd and those watching on a television in singing "Santa Claus is Coming to Town," raising enough Christmas spirit to fully power the sleigh without the engine. By the following Christmas, Buddy writes a book about his life, which becomes a bestseller and allows Walter to establish his own publishing company. Buddy also marries Jovi and brings their newborn daughter, Susie, to visit Papa Elf.
Wow,
The end.
You did the whole thing.
Yep.
Dang.
How'd it feel?
Felt good.
Good.
I think I did all right.
You did great. Well, let's go ahead and talk about this opening sequence then. So we have the concept of a human child accidentally being abducted by Santa.
You say that like you're not a human.
I mean, they're in
You got
this world.
human.
Well,
child.
we have to
Well,
talk about it because there are elves.
He didn't abduct him. He crawled in his sack.
I said accidentally abducted. I don't think the police would agree with his story. Is all I'm saying.
I just want to hear you say crawling in his sack.
I'm not saying it.
Could you?
Please.
He was abducted by Santa Claus.
Santa Claus didn't deliberately abduct him.
It doesn't. I said accidentally.
It's not exactly.
Santa Claus is omniscient.
My goodness. And
Yeah, he knows when you're sleeping and awake.
well, when he's on the job, he's got a lot on his mind, guys.
He knows when you're in his sack or not.
That's that third part
As
of
he gets
the
his cookies,
line.
that's all that matters.
I'm wondering that must have been the last place he visited.
The sack.
No.
All right.
The orphanage.
Saks Fifth
man,
Avenue.
Imagine.
No, Buddy was in that sack for a long time.
Well, if he was in there the whole time, he didn't notice him each time he went in.
I don't know, man. We don't know how big. Okay, I'm not going to keep going. Look, all right. So, anyways, he ends up being raised by elves. Buddy goes back to North Pole. They find him like, oh, snap, there's a baby. Instead of bringing him back, let's just raise him. So the elves raise him. And so let's go back and go over sort of the North Pole here. This film's version of the North Pole, which just so happens to look a lot like the 1960s Rankin Bass version of the North Pole.
Yeah.
So in this world, it's full of stop motion animals, snowmen, obvious fake sets in snow, as well as old fashioned Christmas themes. Are we buying this?
If you don't know Rankin Bass by name, it's the Rudolph, Santa Claus is Coming to Town animation
Frosty the
type
Snowman.
films or shorts. So
All those songs that you know that are.
Although I don't think Frosty the Snowman actually is Rankin Bass.
Is it not?
But I'm glad
sure?
you actually started, Irina, because I was going to throw that to you. So are we buying into this world, this Christmas town?
yes, I am.
I really
love
like
it.
Yeah.
I think since if you're looking at the genre of this movie, I think it is dominantly a comedy.
Mm-hmm.
So anything that defies reality, but in its place is either funny or a clever thing, makes it much more palatable. And in this case, it totally works as a reference to those Rankin Bass, as Irina said. And Will Ferrell is the larger than life type of personality that totally makes sense to interact with a world like this.
He bridges the gap there.
This is one of those great things about this role in particular with Will Ferrell. Will
Phil. Because you switched him.
Will Phil.
You took the arrow.
You're right.
Will Phil.
Will Ferrell. And it's that the whole time he's not, cracking jokes and setting up these comedic I mean, they are comedic situations, but it's naturally his character buddy, not him clearly setting up a one-liner or like Anchorman.
Yeah, it's not
bouncing
SNL
off
Will
others.
Ferrell,
Yeah.
where he's just like here to crack some great jokes.
It's a kids movie. It's really natural. It's got some stuff for adults to understand as well. I really, really like his performance in it, and that is probably why a lot of people think, I don't like Will Ferrell, but I do like this.
Yeah.
So it does make sense.
Well, and this sort of stop motion Rankin Bass world was a big point in the actual production of the movie. I believe it was one of the things that they both had trouble with, and was a pin that Favreau wanted to have in this movie. He's like, we are going to get that Rankin Bass style stop motion, and they actually got a lot of smaller companies to help work on it. Like Three Brothers got to do all the stop motion, and I just think it's super cool that they try to replicate that, but slamming the book down, they're like, we want this. This is what we want the look of.
It really sets the mood too. Like it just, you feel like the moment you get into this movie, you feel like you're wrapped in a warm blanket.
Yeah.
Just, like, okay, this movie's got its head on straight. It knows it accomplishes those Christmas vibes of yore, and also pushes it forward.
Yep.
It's a nice balance of both nostalgia, reminding you of those shorts you would grow up watching, but also kind of parodying it at the same time. Because when you're in the world, there are so many references that are just kind of silly, like "not now, Arctic Puffin," just kind of almost in a fun way mocking how kind of bizarre those worlds were.
Yeah.
We also have in this area Bob Newhart, so the first big name actor in the movie, playing Buddy's dad, or I guess adopted father.
And Ed Asner's Santa Claus. So two big ones. Oh, and Bobby from Christmas Story.
Oh, that's right. Yep. Because he plays an elf in this as well. No, not as well. He plays an elf in this.
Yeah.
Which is super cool.
And also, there's a guy that maybe only I know, but he plays one of the elves, and he was in, if anyone's seen it, that TV series, what was it? Voyage of the Unicorn. That's it.
Oh, your
He
favorite.
plays an elf in that one too.
I still remember that theme that played on loop.
I know the ha ha.
Oh, it's so painful.
Yep.
It's so because either you or Julianne, our younger sister, would put it on.
Oh yeah, we would watch it.
And then
together.
after watching it, it would be left on that menu for hours, and that would just loop, and I'd be upstairs.
Super cheesy fantasy fluff, and we loved it.
I love about this opening part, if we're talking about Ed Asner, I love his take on Santa Claus, because it's like no other Santa Claus you've seen before.
Not at all.
He's like a Santa Claus he's seen the world.
No, he's been to war.
This Santa Claus comes home and he takes some whiskey.
Yeah, exactly. I love the idea that all these elves, they don't even realize they're in their little bubble, and then Santa Claus, he knows how people really are, and it's kind of subtly actually a pretty good performance, even though on the surface you wouldn't think he did much.
But yeah, this Santa Claus is awesome. I just love that this world of innocent elves, it like juxtaposed with this Santa Claus that he almost doesn't fit in this movie, but because of that, it just makes it so much better. But Bob Newhart also, when they were coming out with the script for this, they put somebody like Bob Newhart.
And then they got
Bob Newhart.
That's
so
awesome.
I think that's kind of cool.
I didn't know that.
Let's
I like
see.
Bob Newhart too, by the way. I think he's I love him as Buddy's dad.
Oh, he's charming.
He's great.
You also get a lot of forced perspective here.
Oh yeah,
which we watched the that Netflix episode.
Movies that make us.
Yeah, movies that make us, which I don't.
I like it.
It's sometimes annoying. They do that record scratch thing way too much and cut to someone else who disputes something the person previously said, which I find really obnoxious. It's still a good, I don't know, it covers the movie well, but I just lost what I was going to say.
Frosty was
Forced
Rankin
perspective.
Bass.
Oh, there you go. Rankin Bass. Frosty was Rankin Bass.
There you go.
Yeah, I knew it was. Y'all naysayers.
Well,
Yeah,
I was the
but someone in
naysayer,
that
but-
episode makes the claim that no one had done forced perspective in 50 or 60 years, and I raise you a Lord of the Rings. I'll just
Well, I
say
was going to say there's quite a few things that they took inspiration from Lord of the Rings actually in this, which is you would never expect.
Yeah, well, they're both New Line too, which is funny. That is something when I was researching, I was both New Line productions.
So Buddy eventually discovers after 30 years that he is a human and not an elf. It took him that long. Well, Santa teaches him about his father, sends him on his way to the Big Apple, and we get to see the transition back to the real world now, and we see how innocent Buddy handles himself in one of the nicest cities the USA has to offer. And this is where we start to meet the rest of the cast. So let's talk about Buddy's father.
Wait, can I first talk about his literal first interaction with the world with that raccoon?
Yes.
Yes.
Just like walking down this trail.
Does someone need a hug?
And the perspective they do of him like reaching down to grab it.
It's so good. Yes.
And then there's just so obviously fake raccoon that he's wrestling with. But
Yeah.
it's so perfect because it works with the comedy of this movie.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. They were able to exactly nail that point of not being cringe, but also, catering perfectly to children and adults.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This movie's great at that.
I don't get how they were able to absolutely nail that.
Magic.
There's a lot
Yeah.
of adult comedy that you don't get as a kid, but
Yeah.
the themes are very childish.
Yeah.
And I think that kids
Exactly.
can grab onto. So, and obviously that's one of those slapstick things that I think everyone can find funny.
Yeah.
Wrestling with a raccoon, super funny.
Yeah.
We also get, when he's venturing to New York City, we get our first taste of like the musical theme, which I think is actually, it's so Christmassy, but it's also really good.
Very New
in a
Yorky,
way.
I would say too.
And that is by, let's see, John Debney. So it's John Debney's score.
This has a really good score, actually.
Mm-hmm.
It does.
And then they kind of sprinkle in a lot of Christmas classics or just jazzy stuff
Yeah,
in there as
intermingled.
well.
I just love that the score on its own is good, and they
Yeah.
have all the other ingredients as well.
Yeah, so he's now kind of getting to New York, and we get to actually meet the rest of the cast. So let's talk about Buddy's father, Walter, the children's book publisher, played by
Caan.
James Caan, Jimmy the Dream. Of all the actors to choose, how do we feel about James Caan playing Buddy's father?
Perfect Scrooge for this.
Yeah, he really is.
It's just kind of crazy to me that James Caan even wanted to do this. I think that originally he said no or just didn't want to do it, and then I guess he somehow was convinced to do it. I didn't do enough research on that to figure out why, but he ended up stumbling into it, and it ended up being great because of it. I'm trying to think. Oh man, there was somebody else who was trying, like that was also going to be the father.
Oh, it wasn't Bill Murray. It was someone.
It was an old comedian, like an '80s comedian.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I do remember reading
Bob
something.
Newhart.
Bob Newhart.
Bob Newhart was actually originally going to play everything, like Eddie Murphy movies.
James Caan isn't too far removed. He had a somewhat similar role in Big, that kind of father figure, kind of toy adjacent, I guess.
Right.
I totally forgot he was in Big. I think I need to rewatch that movie.
Yeah, so he plays well in this scenario. I actually really like him as sort of in comparison to Buddy, where they're so different, but there's still something about him that's humanizing. He's not just evil. He's just someone that's lived in New York and in this corporation or business
jaded.
too long,
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think they do just a really good job with showing you a character without having to go like in depth into a backstory. So, and he plays that role really well.
And they set it up perfectly, whereas this is the real world, but it's also, he's still kind of like President Business from the Lego movie, where it's just like, I'm doing something bad. Like, you can just, I'm cutting out the last 2 pages of this children's novel. Who needs the ending? Ship it. That's how this works. Like,
Yeah.
even in the real world, you wouldn't be able to ship a book
No.
without the last 2 pages.
Yeah,
that
you'd
end
have
it.
to be an idiot.
It's just like, it's slightly heightened in this movie, the realism of it all. Like,
Oh, actually, that scene with the nuns, like, but the children love the books.
one of our most quoted.
He's like,
Yes.
I love that. Thank you for saying that, but no.
There's something about her delivery there that's repeatable.
But the children love books. With the hand movement
Yeah.
too, your hands
Yeah.
together. Yep.
It's good.
All right. Well, I think let's see. Actually, I had one other thing to say about that. When they were filming this with James Caan, just the amount of times that Will Ferrell was messing with James Caan. This apparently the first time they met each other, Will Ferrell immediately said, "Dad!" and ran over and like monkey hugged him, like just like completely wrapped around him. And James Caan was nearly off of this like immediately. and throughout the whole thing, James Caan was like, "Are we done? Like, did we get that? Are we done with this scene?" And Will Ferrell just kept doing them. He was like, "No, we're doing this over and over again."
He came around though. Right?
No, he did. And he did enjoy this, but the joke was, I think he kind of has a persona.
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
set. People were
Weren't they
afraid.
trying to get him to like, hey, you're the guy from Godfather? Like, just you need to have
Trying to get him to channel that character a little bit.
or just I mean, yeah, serious energy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's right. It's crazy to think he was in The Godfather.
He dies.
Yep. Let's see.
Spoilers.
It's been
Like you're gonna
been
go
a
watch
bit.
The Godfather anytime soon, or even remember that it's him. It doesn't even look like him. Like his young version. Yes, like when you squint your eyes, they look the same. But
Yeah.
like I had to be told that, hey, that's James Caan, same guy from Elf, and it was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
This is one of those movies where I want to say every line is my favorite line. Like there's so many quotes in this movie, but one of my favorites is
6 inches.
6-inch ribbon curls. 6 inches. But no, one of my favorites is when he first gets to Walter's office, they think he's a Christmas gram. I'm here with my dad, and we never met, and he wants me to sing him a song. And by the end of it, everyone's just standing there awkwardly, and James Caan just goes, "Wow,
That was weird.
that was weird."
His delivery's
It's so good.
Yeah, that's how I know he's not phoning it in, because that it's like this genuine like. It almost maybe seems improv because it might not be, but James Caan's reaction to it almost seems like I was not expecting that, and
Yeah.
it almost seems so genuine. Where
Like
he's
genuine
I can see that.
reactions to scenarios.
It makes me think he's constantly thinking like, I can't believe I'm in this movie having to like do this. Like, what is this?
I also love the moment where it's a little later, but he's trying to give his dad a gift, and he sends up his Christmas gift, and he pulls it out, and it's clearly from like Victoria's Secret.
So
like
yeah,
lingerie.
intercom.
And the way he drops it, the moment she walks in, it's just, she's like, "What's that?"
Intercom.
Gift for a special someone.
It's just
I
the
also
perfect
love-
misunderstanding.
I love how well this movie plays to adults too, because kids, this stuff goes right over their heads. But the fact that Buddy, to any normal person, seems like a total creep.
Yeah.
Like, like the gift, this kind of stalkery nature, how he's like acting like a kid.
Yeah.
I'd be like,
Eating gum off of the sidewalk.
Yeah.
Which that was in that opening sequence, and apparently they built a little set there with fake gum, but a lot of people didn't know it was fake, and so a lot of the crew was like, "I cannot believe Will Ferrell's doing this." It's so great. Also, a lot of not just improv, but what would you say? Like real life shots where Will Ferrell would just interact with people
Almost
in the
like
streets.
what would you call that? Would you call that like
Candid?
guerrilla filming
Guerrilla
or something,
filming,
where you're just
candid. I
kind of
think
like
that'll
going
work.
all
Yeah.
around and just getting a bunch of shots of everyday life?
So
just
that,
like Scarlett Johansson and Under the Skin.
Wait, so you're
gosh.
saying when he's taking those flyers?
I don't know about the flyers.
I feel like those
specifically.
that was a staged one.
I would
because-
love to. I would love it if that was not.
But
staged.
the Santa guy,
Yep.
the person in the tracksuit, that was
that's
an
so
actual
good.
guy that they happened to see on the
so
street.
good.
And apparently Will decided to like run up to him and do that. So-
That makes that scene even better.
It's
Yeah.
so good.
Man.
So there's so much. I think because there's a lot of. I would say this film is very guerrilla style filming, because they had to like solve things in the moment, or just shoot things out in the scene. Like they didn't even know how much of the New York city downtown stuff they would actually get to use, which they ended up getting to use all of it. But they didn't know what they would get, so they were kind of just flying by the seat of their pants. So anyway, this is just so much fun. Next up, Buddy ends up at the Gimbel's department store where he accidentally is shanghaied into working at the toy store. So he meets his new boss, played by Faison Love, and his co-worker / future love interest, Jody, played by Zooey Deschanel. So it feels like everybody in this world is meant to be a curmudgeon-y contrast to Buddy. But honestly, does Zooey Deschanel pull up blonde?
Oh yeah, I love her blonde.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding,
Of course
guys.
she
I
does.
was kidding.
You're like, of course.
No, I wrote it in the script. I was like, just kidding. It is a serious question in the sense that she does pull it off. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I was a random segue.
Yeah, I would say in my opinion, it works better than brown hair.
This was my first introduction to Zooey Deschanel
Yeah,
too,
same for
so
me.
I thought she was a blonde. Like as
Yeah,
a kid,
me too.
Me
yeah,
too.
like now you can look at it and go, yeah, she's clearly not blonde. But as a kid, you're like, yep, that works.
That's a blonde lady.
It's yellow. Well, okay. So, do we like the chemistry though between Jody and Buddy? So
Jovi.
Man,
Jovi.
I cannot believe I said Jody. Jovi. Jovi and Buddy, like Bon Jovi.
Jody's got a gun.
I would say at first it's a little weird, but then it becomes heartwarming.
Yeah, I mean, as a kid though, did it feel like that, or is that something as an adult we picked up on? Because rewatching it every time they're in the bathroom scene, for example, like, oh,
It's painful.
I don't know.
Yeah,
but
it's
as a kid,
painful.
it's funny.
Yeah. It's funny, but even now though, it's like because you have the perspective
Yeah.
of Buddy, it isn't as weird
it's not.
because
Yeah.
you know how completely innocent he is.
Exactly.
It would be a scary scenario for her, obviously, which I think the movie actually handles it really well because she confronts him in a very real way, actually.
This movie is very
Yeah.
real when not dealing with the
Yeah,
elves.
it's not over dramatic in that way at all, or and it doesn't brush it off either.
I just love the scene where afterward they're both working and she's like, "Hey, you, yeah, you."
I want to talk to you.
I wanna talk
Come
to
over
you.
here.
He's like, me? Why do you want to talk to me?
I
His
think
childlike. Oh,
Yeah.
well,
The
I did
thing-
something bad.
I like about her character is that she's very quick to warm up to him and realize that he's good spirited.
Yeah.
And I like her character because it's very she just seems kind of sad, kind of like everyone else living in the city, but others have sort of just adapted to that lifestyle, whereas she just seems like she has that cheer, that spirit deep down, but hasn't had anyone spark it for a long time. So I really like their chemistry together.
Can I also say, on a superficial level, one of the few actresses to pull off both blonde and
Oh, yeah.
brunette just as well.
Yeah.
No, 100%.
Yeah, we were talking about that just a moment ago.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I
No,
went
no,
out
you're-
for a second.
Yeah. That was the first question. I was like, can Zooey Deschanel pull off blonde?
She
Blonde-
does.
I would say blonde better.
I also said that.
Yep.
I think Zooey Deschanel just thumbs up.
I agree with that too. Like those are
This is general. Yeah, honestly, that's all I had for that one as far as
We
the
made it
chemistry
weird.
goes.
no. I mean, we're not.
No, it's not that.
Yeah,
I
we're
mean, it's
fine.
weird now that
It's
you
just
said
hair-
it's
it's just
weird.
hair color.
It's more weird.
Just hair color.
All right. Let's see. Where
Does
should
the
we
carpet
go?
match the drapes though?
Bro.
That's making it weird.
That is weird.
I just
You
wanted
would
to
judge
show
me so hard if you were the host of this episode.
No, Reese is having fun. He doesn't have to worry as much now.
If I
You
had
didn't
said
make a
that,
Bones joke.
Yeah, we're gonna take away your spiked eggnog now.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Why didn't you bring me anymore?
I was channeling David in that moment.
oh right,
Because
No, honestly, you're not wrong. I love to test the boundaries. Also, back to Jovi and Buddy though. Obviously the undercurrent of this movie is real people seem to kind of have a sucky life, and the spirit has been sucked out of it, and Buddy is trying to infuse the spirit back into it, the joy of Christmas, if you will. And that's just his introduction, and each character he meets eventually comes to find that Christmas spirit. And that's one of my favorite things about this. It's very simple.
he's trying to take them all off the naughty list.
I don't know. I don't even know if they're on the naughty list. Like, I don't think Jovi is.
Are you sure?
I mean, I'm not sure. I don't know what her past is, but
Who knows?
she doesn't seem like she's on the naughty list. Maybe really naughty list.
Okay. Okay.
All right. So Buddy is arrested. Buddy is arrested and is eventually picked up on bail. Like, I realize I wrote this without any explanation of why he was arrested.
Yeah.
So he ends.
Speaking of naughty lists,
yeah. So Buddy gets a gift for his dad. No, wait.
No, it's when he meets the Santa at
That's
Gimbals.
right. That's right. When he's at his job, he assaults a Santa Claus because he's not the real Santa Claus.
Am I the only guy that thinks that Santa Claus is a John Belushi lookalike, by the way?
I
Like
didn't,
slightly?
I didn't think about it, but I
can see that.
it.
Yeah.
Okay, continue.
So he assaults Santa because he smells like meat and cheese, and he's not the real Santa. He's a fake. He's a fraud. And Buddy goes to jail. And eventually,
By the way, as a young kid, when they described that was such the perfect description for like what a kid thinks an adult smells like.
Yep.
It's like
beef and cheese.
It smells like meat and beef and cheese. Like
It's true.
Well, what did I sing for your birthday
And
on your
stale
birthday?
cigarettes.
Stale cigarettes. Yep.
I will say though,
happy birthday, of course.
like that's true, but beef and cheese smell real good.
They do, but it also
Yeah.
it does not
But
scream.
not on Santa.
Here, let me get you that for your
Maybe.
Kolo next year.
Beef.
do you prefer them blonde or brunette?
He likes them fatty.
Okay.
That hard hitting content.
I don't know what's going on.
I don't know.
Right now.
We're all trying to improv on the one day that I'm.
It's the eggnog.
Weird. So anyway, because he assaults this, or the Santa really assaults him, to be honest.
He does, but he
It's an
provoked the
instigation.
situation, so they were probably just both sent.
Yeah. So he goes to
Yeah.
jail, and the only phone number he has is for his father, Walter Hobbs. They call him, and eventually he's like, "All right, screw this lunatic. I'm gonna go get him and figure out what he wants." So Walter picks him up in jail, bails him out, and he's like, "I am your son." He's like, "This is crazy. Screw it. Let's just go to the doctor and figure it out." So
This movie, we got to talk. This movie has so many just perfect little moments that just him sitting in the jail watching these
Yeah.
two guys do like infinite pull-ups.
The look on his face.
in his elf costume.
Yeah. It's
So-
like, this is not, he so clearly sticks out like a sore thumb. It's great.
And all of these are shot in the exact same building, which I think is cool. It was all built. It's all an insane asylum that they use for other movies too. But they had to like turn the cells into, well, I guess prison cells, but also the doctor's office, also his house, and also the book place.
Their business.
Yeah.
In the
Yeah.
Empire State Building.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That
anyway,
was actually the original ending of this. It just was all took place in an insane asylum
Oh my
inside of
gosh.
his head.
yeah, Buddy does seem a little crazy.
Slightly unhinged.
Like even if he was in the real world, I feel like he'd be a little off.
I mean, do you see the way he plays Snowball?
Yeah.
Fast.
Real fast.
Real
and
fast.
very
There's
vicious.
no way that is not drug influence.
There's no way he's not on speed.
It's those cotton balls.
So doing the real snowballs.
I was gonna say it's all that maple syrup.
That too.
By the way, can I say, I think this movie demonstrates how the fish out of water premise for a movie almost always guarantees at least a kind of fun time.
Yeah.
Like you
Yeah.
think
It does.
I think it's like the easy, like strike. You can, if you have a interesting fish out of water premise, that does a lot of the work for your movie. And here's a movie where it's just, you had good direction, good cast, and this fish out of water premise that just makes things just a little funnier to witness.
I think they were talking about that when they were bringing Will Ferrell on from SNL, how he was so good at doing not just fish out of water kind of style humor, but like that innocence where he's doing things without realizing how awkward it is to the real world.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's exactly what this is.
Well, who mentioned Big earlier?
That would be AJ.
AJ, like this is, I didn't put it together before, but it is very much like Big has some of those same joys when you're watching it. It's a
It
kid.
does.
It's a kid in an adult's world. Just, I don't know. So it had to have riffed off of that movie a little bit.
They did
I would not
say
be surprised.
that
Questionable romantic relationships.
Yeah.
they did say that they were wanting somebody similar to the lead of Big.
Tom Hanks.
Yes, thank you. the innocence that Tom Hanks brought to the movie, where they didn't get that with Will Ferrell in the same way anyway. He has his own innocence, I think, but like they wanted someone truly innocent, I think, where Will Ferrell just, is his own brand of innocence. I don't know how else to say it. But speaking of all that, they take him home eventually when he learns that Walter takes him home to meet Emily and the family. And Emily handles it very well.
Oh, yeah.
Walter's wife is like, cool, 30-year-old son, count me in.
This is amazing. Well, I could see it being like, he's a very grumpy dude, like just kind of set about his work and going through the same routine over and over again. So I could see from her perspective this possibly injecting something new into his life where it's like, hey, this could, maybe this could be a good thing, like you can connect with another son and create sort of some kind of bond, I could see it being like promising and getting him out of his cycle to care about something a little more.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if I have anything. This leads to some really funny scenes.
Actually, that was the next thing on my list was do these bits land still? The
like drinking the
Coke bit,
bottle.
the rocking horse, the tickle fight.
Well, this is tickle fight definitely still lands.
Yeah, it does.
But yeah, it all does. But I think the point is they try to scatter enough for kids and adults alike. So kids love that kind of stuff. Downing an entire bottle of Coca-Cola and then like a minute-long burp. Like I can see kids just laughing their heads off at all of that.
Oh, yeah.
It's absolutely necessary.
I still just, can I get a quick tuck? I always get a tuck before I go.
I'll go right to sleep, I promise.
Dad. Honestly, I was that kid growing up, by the way. Not
you
like
needed to be tucked in?
No, but I constantly would be like, Mom, I want water. Like I need some, like I think that kids do, I think, where you just you're not sleepy and you just want the interaction with the parent.
Yeah.
So you're like, I'm thirsty. I need to go to the bathroom. Like, no, you already went. You already got your water.
Now I'm imagining you right now doing that, except Irina is like, I'll get you the water.
He has actually asked me to get him water before.
Yeah.
There you go.
I think, unfortunately, Mary Steenburgen, her character, and Jack, what's the actor's name for the kid? I don't know what his name is. I think they kind of pale in comparison in these scenes because we've got these two powerhouses, James Caan and Will Ferrell. Just what Will Ferrell does and James Cameron's reactions to what he does are so perfect in like maximum hilarity. Just watching James Caan's face, just the detested, whether real or acted, as he watches Will Ferrell do things or as he has to interact with him is so funny. The way James Caan walks down the hallway and like he brushes up against that thing that Will Ferrell built, like the link paper thing, and just like rips
snowflakes,
it off.
the snowflakes.
At the same time, her character is a very necessary oil, just tonal lubricant, I guess, just between the two. The father and son dynamic that are so conflicting, because without her, that soft touch, like it wouldn't really go much farther. It'd just be too much tension, I think. I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, I definitely, I don't fault them at all. I'm just like, they kind of fade into the background for me, but maybe they're more important in the way that they're kind of the baseline. And then these other two are on opposite ends of the spectrum.
Like, what do you do when you have somebody who's ultra energetic and happy and somebody who's ultra negative and kind of just quiet?
Yeah, they're there.
Everyone else is in the middle.
Yeah, they're to level the playing field.
In a way, they kind of are. I kind of imagine them as, well, I don't know. The best way I can describe it right now is like sort of a reference for Walter Hobbs' character, where it's like what do you call it when
baseline?
Yeah, but they're almost more in a way because of their existence.
Foil.
They describe the kind of person that Walter Hobbs might have been before or could be, because he has these connections with these people, and she's a wonderful person and seems to actually really love him a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So he, in turn, seems kind of like he's just sort of broken. And so you can, if it's just him and Buddy, you feel like he's just been an awful person all his life. And it's
There's
that's
no one
not
there
the
worth
case.
saving.
Yeah.
Him having this family softens his character
Exactly.
a little, just enough for you to
Right.
be convinced that by the end that he could change. I like that. Like that, it gives him some. Like maybe there's a history of him knowing that he's not been that great, and like obviously had this failed relationship with Buddy's mom, and now he's like, I don't know, working on it, I guess maybe, but still not there.
Yeah, and his failures as a father to his, his younger son. Yeah, her character, like, I feel like if she wasn't, gently nudging him along, he wouldn't actually make any kind of progress or
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he does actually listen to her, even if it's, he's a bit disgruntled about it. Like, there are efforts he actually makes to listen to her.
Yeah.
He actually took Buddy to work.
It's true. It's bold.
Also, the bit where he's like, lose the costume as soon as possible. As soon as possible? As soon as possible. And just drops Trow right there. And Emily walks in.
Yeah.
Who doesn't like a good pantsless scene?
Right.
Got to have one in every Will Ferrell movie, I guess.
True.
He really does like to walk around pantsless.
And to sing. Those are his two trademarks. He sings in every movie, and in almost every movie I feel like he takes his pants off or his clothes off in some way.
Yep.
He is not ashamed of his like kind of awkwardly shaped belly.
Nope.
Yeah. You're right.
Which I appreciate. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we can all appreciate that. Or at least you and I can, Reese.
Body positivity.
Thanks. I'm working on it.
I'm working on it. As we say as we drink our eggnog and beer.
Yep.
All right, so moving on with the plot. At this point...
Wait, you put beer in eggnog?
Yeah.
No, two separate things.
We said spiked eggnog, didn't we?
Use an IPA strong enough. So at
That's
this...
gross.
I want to try it now just to see. All right. So moving on with the plot, we start to see the shift in the movie where they were setting it up from the beginning. So Buddy starts to bond with his stepbrother and changes his already cold young heart back to happiness, spreading the joy of Christmas to him that was all but lost. So snowball scene. Noah, you like snowballs?
I like balls.
Yeah, I knew it. I actually wrote that specifically, and I abandoned it last second. So thank you for leaning into it.
Do you grab them out of Santa's sack?
No, usually David's.
Yeah.
Wow, you're just like going literally for it. But yeah, snowball scene. Do you like that scene, Noah?
I like it.
No, it wasn't meant to be a deep conversation.
I think it's pretty good.
I don't think it was very deep.
He moves very quickly.
That's one of the few times they use CGI in the movie.
Really?
Yeah.
CG? Are you sure?
Yes.
This is that one scene that it's I've seen it in other movies where finally the kid sees this dorky character or this person that he looks down on as cool because he does something unexpected.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's part of this movie's whole thing where it's like, don't judge a book by its cover and have a heart. Like just have a heart.
Mm-hmm.
And this is how there's all these individual scenes where Buddy, through just being Buddy, starts to soften people and the way he does it with this kid is he does something cool in front of him. He defends him from all the bullies, and in direct contrast to his friends who aren't there to help him, Buddy is there to get him out of this. And it's just
epic snowball scene.
Yeah, it's both that caring about your fellow man, but also not caring about what other people think about you is another major point of this movie, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
There's a lot of Christmas tropes all thrown into one in this, and I don't know
without being like wordy about it or heavy-handed. Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have seen Klaus, but there is a very similar theme where you have this one guy move in, everyone's kind of going through their dreary life, and you start doing nice things for people and eventually turning their hearts. And that's what it makes me think of that. Just throughout this movie, I started thinking about that movie.
What's so genius, and I just thought about this now about Elf, though, is that Elf is such a child that just in his heart he is good.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not like he's trying to show people that he's good. It's just that's what he's doing.
Or
even though
he's not even trying to make them good. He's just trying to make connections
Yeah.
with people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In Klaus, the only difference is that I this sounds weird, but the character in Klaus is a fully intelligent adult who knows to be good, I guess. Elf is just, it's built in.
Yeah,
you know?
Right.
It's second nature for him.
I don't know.
Yeah, I know.
I'd more compare this almost to like Stuart Little,
Yeah.
where Elf is Stuart, you know, obviously a misfit, but trying his best to, you know, fit in, and then the brother gradually wins over, you know, or is won over rather, in his camaraderie, whereas before he kind of resented him.
Mm-hmm.
Nice Stuart Little pool. I have not seen that movie since, 2013 when it came out?
What?
Stuart Little.
Stuart Little came out way before 2013.
Oh, no, sorry. 2003 is what I meant.
Okay.
Like 2000, not 2013.
I was like, what?
Like,
No,
that's not
I
right.
definitely meant like 2003.
Like, oh yeah, I remember watching that back in 2013. I don't even remember. I don't even know if I have thought about that movie since it came out.
I remember liking it. It had that little kid who was famous for 2 years or something with the glasses. He was in that vampire movie.
Yeah.
as well.
Mikey.
Yeah. Yeah. I think his last name was like Lipnicki or something. I remember his last name because it was
Jonathan
weird.
Lipnicki, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know. That just came out of my head.
Yeah. Good job.
Well, yeah. So eventually, Walter takes Buddy to work because he can't just leave him home alone
I'm in
anymore.
work clothes.
We get an epic mailroom scene, and we learn about the dark underbelly of children's publishing. We also get to see Kyle Gass and Andy Richter on the Fun Squad.
Also, you talk about this movie playing both to adults and kids at the same time with the maple syrup, but it's actually alcohol joke. in
Yep.
the-
Yeah.
That's actually a
Maple
perfect.
syrup and coffee.
Oh, the guy's
Why didn't I
disappointed
think
look
of
as
that?
he pours the whole thing into his coffee.
So this movie, I learned about how asparagus makes your pee smell.
Yep.
Thank you, Andy Richter, for that amazing bit.
He's self-conscious because of the way his pee smells.
I think
That's
those
Amy
two-
Sedaris, isn't it?
It's actually
it's
a good
Andy
joke.
Richter.
Andy Richter and Kyle
No,
Gass
Gass.
from Tenacious D.
I love Kyle Gass.
The executive assistant.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I only.
You remember?
She's from Monk.
She's
I know she's
in
from Monk.
That's the only thing I've seen her in, like Sharona's sister.
Amy Sedaris, I think is her name.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what he said.
Oh,
I
you
don't-
said
I don't
Sedaris?
know.
Okay.
I don't know her from anything, so
Yeah.
She does a lot of voice work too.
yeah, she is a perfect assistant, I think, in this movie. But other than that, she's just kind of like Emily, where a foil to our main man Walter.
Yeah.
So, but I just love also seeing all these happy people around him.
Mhm.
Like, so Kyle Gass and Andy Richter as his like two writers for the kids' book. They are the goofiest people. It doesn't matter what role they're in. Just seeing their faces, I want to start laughing.
Seeing them together in this movie made me realize, like, how have these guys not been paired before?
Yeah, exactly.
Or after this, like they should. I don't know. They should do stuff.
They got to do more.
I guess there's the Jack Black factor. You'd get jealous.
Yeah, that's true.
You would.
So the mailroom scene, though, he sends him down there to just get him away from him. So
The shiny
kind of like
mailroom.
supervise him, talks to him like a kid, gets him down there, and he's assimilated. I think that is some of the funniest bits too. We get the alcohol / syrup bit. We get the guy who's obviously not 26 that claims to be 26.
27 years old.
Yep,
Haven't done anything.
he's like
It's the
50
same
years
guy,
old.
wasn't it?
Huh?
I'm 27 years
Oh
old.
yeah, with the alcohol.
Yeah, same guy.
Yeah.
I just think it's hilarious that they bonded and he became friends with him
Tickle
quicker
fight,
than
tickle
anybody
fight.
else in the movie. And it's like this guy on parole.
The power of alcohol.
Yeah.
So
I think it's a social commentary on the penal system in America, though, where he's obviously on parole and work leave arrangements. So the way that Elf kind of subtly brings this conversation to the forefront, while just also simultaneously having scenes of him pulling his pants down.
Yep.
Brilliant.
Brilliant.
and he doesn't judge him either. And he's like, "You're on parole? Cool."
Cool.
They
I just
moved
like how
by it.
they're both drunk, lying down in bins of letters, and nobody even bothers to be like, "Hey, y'all can't be there."
You are my buddy. I'm not afraid to say it. You are my best buddy.
It really does feel like nobody down there cares. That makes sense. They probably don't get paid enough, or
Until
it's-
the whoop, there it is.
yeah, yeah. You inject some life down there.
See, that's what Buddy does. Gotta
That's
get
not the
out
only
of the
thing
flow.
being injected down there.
Oh, that's for more maple syrup, right? Or little maple syrup on a spoon.
There's some powdered sugar.
All right. So simultaneously in the movie, while he is down there, they get the idea to bring in Miles Finch, played by Peter Dinklage,
yeah.
who is like, I guess, a phenomenal children's book writer that everyone in the world knows. He has big
Peach,
flat.
what's more sensitive than a peach?
Exactly. He has homes in Vale, Rome, and Venice.
Vulnerable, I mean, sorry.
And I just think it's so funny that he is playing a children's book writer. Just the same way I think it's funny that James Caan is playing a children's book writer.
Yeah.
But that is some of the funniest bits in this movie too. Is anything with Peter Dinklage. Oh gosh, what was it? They gave Peter Dinklage direction in the scene where he drop kicks him. It was a last second addition by one of the guys who worked on Old School, was also in this as like a writer. And he's like, "Yeah, you got to drop kick him." And they convinced him. I can't remember how, but they're just like, "Yeah, come on." So they end up going through that, but
wow,
it's fun.
So he's probably wearing like a chest pad or something.
I don't know. I just know that they convinced Peter Dinklage to do that.
That's cool. It looked practical.
It was practical. They were something they told him to like convince him to do it. I just can't remember what it was now.
Yeah. Meeting does not go well.
No, it doesn't. And Buddy ends up coming up because he's in love.
And he doesn't care who knows it.
Yep.
And we didn't even talk about the whole.
Oh,
or
gosh.
maybe y'all did.
No, I think I skipped it. I think I combined two things there.
I think based off the tone of this movie, we can like forego the problematic talk about how she would be super attracted to some guy who acts like a 6-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
But
I think he's adult enough and does enough adult things to,
granted, it might be softened by the fact that he's like 15 years older than her.
Yeah.
Technically,
Yeah.
maybe.
That's a very confusing relationship.
Yeah.
I think she sees the childlike innocence that she wishes she had again. And he takes her all around New York to look at Christmas trees.
Yeah. He is intelligent. He's just very, very oblivious and childlike. So, I don't know. Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know what else to say about it other than this just builds the relationship, shows their chemistry, and also shows that he is changing her heart over just like everybody else in the movie.
It never seemed it's only weird when you think about it, but when you're watching the movie, it never comes off as creepy. So I think that's to the movie's credit in a way, where any other movie, if it was slightly tilted in some different way, it would just be like, oh, that's not right.
Yeah.
But this movie,
I don't know.
It,
Some of those scenes is like needed to get rid of that 5 o'clock shadow a little bit more.
He was constantly shaving on set. They said he had to shave at least twice a day on set, like once in the morning and once at lunch. So he was trying.
Man, it grows in fast. Man, I wish I had those genes.
Do you? I guess when you don't have it, you want it, but
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you showing off your full beard.
No, I don't have that. I mean, I guess more than Reese, but not that much.
You hear that? He called me fat and unhairy all in one episode.
Is that a bad thing?
Yeah.
That's the life I live. As far as
shots in the dark, both eyes closed. Go ahead.
You're an idiot.
I was quoting a song.
I know. All right, so moving on, we have I want to jump back to the fact that let's kind of speed this up too, that he comes and interrupts his meeting with Miles Finch. He says, this is the crux of the movie, I guess, where he screams at him, "I don't want you in my life. I don't want you as a son. I hate you," kind of thing, and get out of my life.
No.
So he ends up leaving. Everyone just quietly stares at James Caan, realizing, like, that was mean.
This movie almost gets dark.
Yeah.
Like, he's on
he's on the bridge and he's like, I don't belong anywhere.
Well,
and I'm
like, what are you
"Don't
about to
jump."
do?
You guys
right
realize
now?
they were hinting at It's a Wonderful Life, where
Yeah.
Someone
yeah.
does jump over a bridge.
Yeah, I'm almost like, wow, this movie is actually alluding to is Buddy. There was a moment where you're thinking, you know, the movie's not going to do that, but you're
Right.
for a moment you think, does the movie want us to think he's
And,
about to do that?
As a kid, I didn't think that.
Because in my mind, Buddy wouldn't be a guy who ever thought about doing something like that. But in your head, the natural conclusion is, oh, this guy's gonna jump off the bridge.
Talk about the biggest tonal shift a movie would go through if they went through with that. And James Caan is like the center focus of the movie now, like him coming to terms with it and reinfusing the spirit of Christmas. Just like that would be a dark turn.
That would be a movie as good as it was. I would give it 1 star out of 5.
I'd be like, you did not need to do that.
Wow.
You are. I don't care how well directed this movie is. You're the worst movie ever made.
So he's off on his own now. Buddy is kind of talking to himself on the bridge, thinking about life, what went wrong, and eventually sees a sleigh coming through and crashing into Central Park, where he goes to investigate.
And then the ring wraiths.
Yep, that's one of the Lord of the Rings references that they 100% went for.
Yeah.
Originally it was going to be the New York police, and then they're like, no, let's make them on horseback and all in black, and no one's going to know what they look like.
What a good idea. I love that.
I love the Walter realizing that, oh man, I've made a mistake when the son talks to him.
Yeah.
Their whole embrace, even though man, my only thing, if I had to criticize this movie for one moment that I think they could have really made the tears come out, but they pulled short of it. There's times when this movie could have gone for the sweetness jugular and really made you cry, and it's almost too afraid to at times. And that time when Buddy and Walter hug is like, oh, this is like a real sweet moment, and it's cut just a little too short in favor of something like action. We got to do something. Where I'm like, could we just music stop for a second? Actually let them hug, and there's this real feeling for a second, because it's almost cut short by, oh, Will Ferrell be Will Ferrell again, and move on.
I think they said in the Movies That Made Us on Netflix that one of the people who made this movie, that was the big touching scene. That was supposed to be the pivotal moment of heartwarming and
My
love.
favorite part about movies like this are having happy tears.
Yeah.
And I could have had a happy tear moment, and it just doesn't quite get
you could pause the movie. on
Yeah, I
the
could
hug
pause it.
and then cry, and then you can play it.
Have your
again.
moment, yeah.
Yeah, I don't cry at sad movies. I cry at happy moments.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's usually me too.
Yeah, and it was almost like, oh, you almost got me, but
Yeah,
no, you didn't
almost
quite.
got me.
You didn't quite do it. It was almost a little too gun shy. It's I don't know. I don't know if y'all felt the same way.
I never felt emotional at that scene, to be honest. In a tearing up kind of way. Never felt the tears.
I felt it because Walter for the first time is breaking down his walls.
Yep.
And he's willing to hug this guy that he's been kind of trying to push to the side for the whole time. And give that a moment, guys. I give you credit for having the moment, but give it more time. But I mean, the movie's short already. You can extend it a couple seconds.
We got some time.
For a hug.
Yeah, for a hug.
So why don't they hug longer? What happens?
Because, the Central Park Rangers or something like that. We got to move. It was cut short by action, I think.
Well, and so in this, which we didn't exactly explain, Santa crashes because his Clausometer 3000 or whatever it is breaks.
Yeah.
And they need to get it back onto the sleigh, and otherwise they're not going to have enough Christmas spirit to fly home, which is just a great thing to say in this kind of movie.
So they're implying that this engine is the car equivalent of a hybrid, where it runs half on Christmas spirit and half on something else.
It's got 500 reindeer power. Meanwhile, simultaneously using that sweet I don't even know what you'd call it.
Juice. Christmas juice.
Children's Christmas spirit.
Adrenochrome.
Aw. That's why Santa lives forever. All right, so they end up getting it back on because obviously Buddy has worked on this Clausometer 5000 or whatever it is, and he knows how to get it back on the sleigh. And meanwhile, in another touching moment, Walter decides to put on Santa's coat and run and try to distract the Central Park Ranger wraiths.
Mm-hmm.
To no avail, does absolutely nothing. They just go right past him.
Yeah.
And they chase after him. What really is the main thing that helps this movie along is the fact that, what's his name? Michael, his brother, his stepbrother?
Mm-hmm.
Stepbrothers.
There you go.
Takes Santa's naughty and nice list, goes down to Central Park and meets all the people on the news and just reads off people's things they wish for Christmas. Love the Dirk Lawson joke where, you got a guy in a bar wants a spa.
Yeah.
It's great. Just little bits like that.
Must be a different Dirk Lawson.
Exactly.
I love that.
So it gets people believing in Santa. All 4 of those people power
She
Santa's
wants a
sleigh.
Tiffany engagement ring and her boyfriend to
Stop dragging
his feet and commit already. Yeah.
Yep.
I like how there's only 4 people who are named, but that was just enough to get that Santa sleigh going.
Yeah.
Obviously, if
no,
people
the
start
moment
singing-
is when he
Just
starts
rise up
singing.
a little bit.
That was perfect, by the way. That's when
That
I was like,
they nailed that.
that's when I watched this movie and was like, oh, this movie is just a perfect puzzle of moments that happen at the very right second.
Yeah.
Like everything's perfectly calibrated in a way.
Yeah. Well, Walter kind of wanders off and runs into his family there and is convinced to sing finally, because he's not really singing because he's not used to singing publicly.
What happens if he doesn't sing? Are people beheaded?
I don't know. It could be, the sleigh's just too low and just scrapes over everybody.
Yeah.
But he does his arms up
Final
in the air,
Destination 7.
nails that last note.
And then the music.
Yeah.
Well,
It's so
swells
good.
up. Then you see Santa fly over everybody. So
What's great about that is it's showing everyone is having the Christmas spirit before seeing it, so they're kind of having their version of faith in Santa. And then that's when they get their confirmation, their visual confirmation that it's real.
it's like a little gift.
I really like that.
I agree.
Yeah. It's just a very nice touch.
I love that scene
It is
so
touching.
much.
It is very touching, actually.
Yeah. And so he flies away. And it's kind of like a happily ever after style ending. And then they kind of cut to the future where he comes back and they open up a father-son kids book company and write the
I like
story of Elf, which I think is awesome. So that's
So good.
That's kind of the end. Oh, also they have kids and they get dual citizenship in the North Pole and New York. So they get to go back and forth.
Of course.
And raise their kid. So, which is all.
I want to know how that went down. I don't really.
Yeah,
wanna
do you want to know?
But what I'm meaning is, what are the logistics of this? I understand the logistics, but how did
Do we
that
have to have the talk?
how did that conversation happen?
He did tell her he was an elf multiple times, so she was bound to get on board eventually.
I'm more talking about the kid making.
Oh, you mean did she have to have the
Did
talk
she?
with him?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh.
How was the initiation of that?
We don't need to
Yeah,
think
we don't need to
about
think
it.
about it.
That's the movie doesn't ask us to think about it, really.
And I won't. Maybe they adopted because he was adopted and they wanted to. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Either way,
Anyway.
it doesn't really matter.
So we happily ever after, great music, and Bob Newhart gets his last little cameo and off to the races with credits. So anyway, guys, I guess we're at the end of the movie now. So do we want to take a quick break?
Quick break.
Alrighty. Well, we will be right back.
We'll see you on the other end with what our
Franchise
brief
talk.
reviews with numbered scores, what critics thought, get into some box office, and close out with a little franchise talk.
And welcome back. Let's talk Elf. Reese, you got our numbered scores over there,
Yeah, this feels different.
right?
Yep.
Go ahead and draw those at random and let us know what we got.
First up, David with a 0.1.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, let me flip that. 10.
Oh, yes.
Wow, 10.
Perfect movie. I would not change a single thing. I think it is perfect in every way. This might be my number one Christmas movie. It is rent free in my heart for always.
Is that your full review?
Yeah, that's it. No, I don't like. I felt like I talked a lot on this episode. It's yeah. I just
Did you like the part where he's walking in the woods and kind of has that like Bigfoot type footage?
I did. I love
Reminds
that.
you of Yetis.
Oh, dang it.
It does.
Also, the way
No
he was.
wonder.
Did you like the way he was throwing those snowballs? Very similar to a football arm.
Guys, I am
Especially
the
the last
host.
one.
I don't get this treatment. I'm the host.
Also, snow Yetis.
Yeah.
Whoa. And yeah, like trees too.
Mm-hmm.
I will say no Brendan Fraser, but
There
you
wasn't.
know.
What was it that you gave Mummy 2 and the Dragon Emperor again when we covered that movie?
7.
All right.
7.
Okay, continue.
All right. So I think Will Ferrell is fantastic in this, somehow proving that he can both lead a movie for the first time and be hilarious for both children and adults. He's very versatile. I think the cast is all over the place as far as where they came from. So like James Caan coming more from adult mobster movies. Will Ferrell, obviously SNL side. Bob Newhart, I guess I don't even know what he would be best known for, but nothing like mobster or SNL. So,
Someone's screaming at us right now.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. I didn't watch a lot of Bob Newhart in prep for this, but it's just all over the place.
Stand-up bits, like a lot of phone conversation style stuff, as
So
well
he
as he had
did
a couple of
comedy.
like self-titled TV shows.
Yeah, the Bob Newhart show, I do remember hearing about that. I didn't watch it, but I know about it, which is very important, I guess.
Very important.
Yeah, I don't know. All the bits, just throughout this movie, if you can infuse that much humor that I can remember on the top of my head at all times, I quote this movie year round. It's just so good. I don't know. It makes me happy every year watching it. I'm going to watch it at least 2 more times before Christmas. So I'm going to go ahead and give it a 10. Go ahead, Reese. Next score.
Next up, we have AJ with a 7.5.
What a Grinch.
What a great.
I know. I bet you were like, oh, don't go after David. Don't go after David.
No, it's fine. I'll be straight up. I mean, Will Ferrell's just is not my thing.
Yeah.
I mean, for the most part, the man-child, man-baby, running around in your underwear kind of comedy's not my favorite brand of comedy. This is quite a bit toned down. So like we said at the top, people who say they don't like Will Ferrell still kind of like this movie. So I consider myself in that camp. I think a lot of, I guess, let's say the messages of this movie spreading Christmas cheer for all to hear is what carries me over on this movie, because I know everybody else loves this movie. And so I kind of get that, through osmosis or whatever. Yeah. Like if I watch this around other people or in a group or they're quoting it or whatever, okay, I'll enjoy it. But me sitting down and watching this, it's just, yeah, it's fun. It's a good, quick movie, but I mean, it's okay. Like as far as holiday movies go, I'd rather watch like Home Alone or, just
Another
other things that are
excellent
more
choice.
classic to me. And it's not, I just didn't personally like just strike it off right off the bat with this movie. So, it's more me living vicariously through the experience of others that enjoy this movie, is what allows me to enjoy this movie more. And more Will Ferrell, I enjoy him in more of like where he's riffing with other people like Anchorman or, like the SNL, like Celebrity Jeopardy kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But him as a leading person, especially when there's like so much contrast between him and like James Caan, and even like the relationship with Zooey Deschanel. Yeah, they have chemistry, like, but it's just so bare bones. The relationship is just, it's a kid movie, so they're not going to go into like whatever. So I think it could have done a little bit more of, depth, growth, and turning around for like James Caan, realizing like, I do appreciate his turn and realization of trying to be a better father and what's really important in life. But, they could have really hammered home on how he's like, really jaded and just selling out like this is a children's book company, and here he's just like phoning it in and, shipping books with missing pages. He doesn't care. their idea is to get another author and just like ghostwrite the children's book and all this stuff. And then like, I feel like there could have been a bit more progression from that to, you know, this light bulb. Oh, you know, family is what matters, that kind of stuff. So, I mean, there's room for improvement. Fun movie overall, lighthearted movie. Best enjoyed with other people for me.
Yeah, I will agree with you. I don't think this is a movie you watch by yourself. I don't, David. I know you.
Just me.
I know you would do that, but I will probably never be caught watching this movie by myself.
You know, when was the last time you watched Elf, David?
A week ago.
Other than a week ago for the podcast.
Probably 11 months ago.
Yeah. Who did you watch it with?
I don't know. I watched it multiple times last year. I watched it with lots of people.
Yeah.
Did you really?
Yeah.
I mean, it just, for some of the stuff, it just gets too tired, like saccharine, like literally like the repetitive, like pouring syrup on spaghetti. Like it just, doing that too many times, like, okay, I get the point. Like, move on to something else. I don't know. It's just my personal preference on comedy.
And you are totally entitled to your personal preference.
You heard that? He called you entitled.
You are entitled to it, not you are entitled. There's a big difference. Noah with a 9.0.
Yeah, that's me. I think this is a modern classic.
Yeah.
I don't know why I was doing that.
I don't even know what accent that
Well, you're
was.
doing it in that syrupy southern drawl.
Southern drawl.
Maple
yeah.
syrupy southern
There's
drawl.
maple syrup pouring right out my lips.
Okay. All right. Enough of that.
No, I think this movie for me, it's a really, like you said, it's a really good fish out of water story for the first, you know, I guess 3/4 or I don't
the
know.
whole movie basically.
Whenever he goes on the date, he's a lot more comfortable around others. It seems he's grown a lot. At least in understanding, he's still got that innocent nature, but he's grown a lot. And I think that last quarter really brings it home with, you know, everyone joining in on the song and, you know, them flying off and the happy ending and all that. And I think that's very much in the Christmas cheer nature. You know, this movie doesn't work if it doesn't, you know, have a happily ever after ending where Santa's real and everyone's faith is restored and all of that. So I think it deserves the 9 in the Christmas movie department.
Awesome. All right.
I forgot one thing. I'm just going to interject real quick. One big thing that kind of took it back for me a little bit too is, you know, I guess the first few years after this came out, I feel like it was so overplayed all the time, and so that kind of made me draw back a bit from it too.
It was certainly overplayed, like right after it came out. Yeah,
just like any song that's like, oh, that's a good song, but then it's played like every other song on the radio. It's like, okay, now I hate this.
Yeah,
so that was a factor for me as well.
Yeah, there's an element of that with like Avatar as well. When it came out, it was very, very much overplayed, and it was a great movie at the time, at least in my opinion.
Still is.
But now,
Still
but
great.
after that though, because of how much it was overplayed, a lot of there came out a coalition of people that, you know, were anti Avatar because it was played so much. So it's an understandable position.
Yeah. Next up, it's me, Reese, with a 9.0. So the same as you. And AJ, just to prove the different strokes for different folks, I would completely swap you the Elf and Home Alone. For whatever reason, Home Alone does not hit me on the way that it does other people, where it's just like...
I know, we've had this argument a couple times, just on Home Alone in general.
It's kind of funny. Like for me, it's like, what what is this movie? It's like plotless. All it is
Okay.
No,
Don't be your dad.
No, it's just let's just defend the house from these guys, and that's fun.
It's true. There's not
what
much
it is.
plot.
It like
The
for me. Don't. This is my.
All right, go ahead.
This is my podium. For me, Home Alone is like the Chive channel of all these different stunts and people falling over for like 80% of the movie, which
David
is fun.
is so mad right now.
And
Our
then it's
limited audience is not even going to know what that is
yeah.
anymore.
Well, and it's bookended by plot. Like it has two bookends of plot, and then in the middle is antics.
Fun
But-
antics.
But I totally
and
it is fun. It is fun.
Filled
But
with Christmas music and learning about wishing you had your family.
there you go.
learning about wishing you had your
But that's I'll save that for later when we eventually get to Home Alone. Maybe that'll be next year's. Who knows?
be.
We'll do the Home Alone franchise. There's
Too many.
6 of them.
There's going to be some
Too many.
fighting.
Yeah.
Wait, there's 6 of them?
Well, 3 theatrical and the other 3 are direct to DVD.
Oh, okay.
So, but we would not cover the direct to DVD.
I knew there were 3. I just
Yeah.
didn't realize there were 3
I
follow-ups.
cut that. I still like the first Home Alone. I just don't understand the reverence. So that's
fair. You
where
don't
I'm at.
have to. More for me.
Yeah. However, Elf for me is like this is just, it's one of the greatest hits Christmas movies. There comes a time and where it becomes grating for some people, like AJ, where it's like you've heard that Taylor Swift song 5 million times, and it's just like, oh my gosh, end it already. I want to rip my ears out.
So now we got Bad Blood.
For me, it's like it's pushed on to the other end where it's just I don't even know what's bad or good anymore. It's just so ingrained in my DNA that I just enjoy it. So it like, and we always mention Lord of the Rings, but I can't objectively watch that movie anymore. I just know it from start to back. I can't like wipe my memory of it and view it clean, like it without objectivity. I just like it, you know. And that's me with Elf. Like I've seen this movie a million times. I watched it last week. I didn't need to because I know this movie like the back of my hand, but I did because that's what we do for this podcast.
And it was great.
And it was great. I had a great time. The humor, I think, again, it's another thing with you. You do kind of have to like Will Ferrell. He does tone down his antics a little bit, but he's still very like yelly and shouty like he normally is. So I could understand that being grating. But it leads with the comedy. It wins you over with like the set design, the warm, comfy Christmassy nostalgia of the Rankin and Bass stuff, and then it actually starts to grow a heart as it goes. My only reservations with it is that I think it had a real shot to make me like emotional while watching it. Like give me those happy tears. There are lesser movies than Elf that give me the happy tears.
I have a question for you though.
You know,
does Santa Claus make you tear up?
No, but I wouldn't give that movie perfect numbers either.
Okay, I guess I was just
Like-
going for ones I knew you liked a lot.
Yeah, but actually, Santa Claus might. I've become more sensitive as I get older, so I need to watch. I'll watch it again and get back to you. But this one just, like, I was starting to feel a little bit like, oh, this is a great moment, and then it just feels like it recoils from it a little bit, and it feels the need to like, all right, back to the action because y'all are getting bored, right? Like and that's kind of an energy that this movie has that's a bit annoying. Is like, y'all are getting bored, right? We need to move this.
It's
we need to say-
fast-paced.
we
They're
need to
all
say a
about
joke.
pacing.
Like, we don't want to rest in a moment at all, and I get that. It is very fun and effective at delivering that, but I wish like it had a chance to still be a comedy in the way that it wants to be, while also, you know, jerking the tears a little bit. Just in like that sweet way.
I know David jerks the tears.
Yeah,
a
he
little
jerks
bit.
the tears.
In a sweet way.
But yeah, but still
Sweet way.
very, very. I feel very strongly about this movie. 9 out of 10, obviously pretty high up there. I just, when you know a 10, you know a 10, and Elf for me is not a 10.
Yeah.
You're right though,
Yeah.
and when you know, you know. And for me,
Exactly.
I knew.
Yeah. All right. Next up, we have, man, you folded this one. You had fun with this one, Irina. Let me get it.
It's fun, isn't it?
It's like, I know it's Irina's. I just gotta get it. Irina with disputing my 9 with a 10. She's casting me down.
Oh.
Man,
10.
I
yes.
I think this movie carries energy from beginning to finish,
Yeah.
and it's short and sweet. It doesn't spend too much time in any one area. I'm mostly grading it from the perspective of when I was a kid watching it,
Mm-hmm.
and how I thought it was the perfect movie, and it's become really difficult to try and remember, watching movies as a kid and how little you required from it, and just fun and warmth is mostly important to me when it comes to this movie. I can see how there are moments where it's not necessarily perfect, but I'm also an adult, and this movie isn't made just for adults. It's made for family, it's made for kids. It's more supposed to be an experience, and when you watch the making of the film from, the movies that made us, you really do hit upon something that's very special about it. And it wasn't just, let's make a Christmas movie. There was a lot of trial and error. There was a lot of people that believed in the project against all odds, even, in moments where it felt like everything was against them. So I think a lot of that I'm speaking more from how I feel about the project and what it's done for a lot of people who, were kind of tired out by the same old Christmas traditions, and everything feels a little too commercialized or too focused on consumerism. And I think this has a pretty succinct message in that area. So I'm going to leave it at a 10, mostly speaking from the heart of a child. So in keeping with the movie.
Yes. Alrighty. Well, we got all our scores in. AJ, you want to crunch those numbers?
All right. Our group average for Elf is 9.1. And we have a handful of 9.1s in our repertoire. We have The Prince of Egypt, Django Unchained, 2001: A Space Odyssey, Enter the Dragon, and Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, all at 9.1.
Wow.
Topping it just barely at a 9.2, War for the Planet of the Apes, and just below at a 9.0, we have Leon the Professional, It, and Napoleon Dynamite.
Solid company.
Makes sense right there with Napoleon Dynamite, I feel like.
The low nines, the good movies.
Yeah.
Alrighty, well, let's move on to critics. Let's see, on Rotten Tomatoes, this movie got an 85% from critics, 79% audience. We have on Metacritic a 64 for the critics and 8.5 for the audience. On IMDb, which is a audience-based scoring, if I'm correct on that, Reese, is 6.6. And on CinemaScore,
I don't think that's correct. Wait, let me check.
well, I mean,
I believe I wrote it. I don't think that's accurate though for IMDb. Let me check again.
should be higher.
Yeah, that seems too low for Elf on IMDb. I will let you know in a second here. It can't be 6.6.
7.0.
7.0. There you go.
Alrighty, there you go.
Thank you, AJ.
All right, so IMDb, we got a 7.0 as well on CinemaScore 7.0. So I would say positive, just overall positive scores on here. Like a slightly middling a little bit in some areas, but I would say overall just raging positive.
Yeah, I think only has grown in opinion upon release. This was a movie that a lot of people went in thinking it was not going to be good. I'll just leave that there. That was the feelings towards it. Like there's a Roger Ebert review where he was like, I went in wanting to hate this, and then it won me over by the end.
Aww.
So, yeah.
I like that we can still reference Roger Ebert on some of these movies.
Yeah.
Let's go to the box office now, though. All right, this movie released wide on November 7th, 2003. And also at the theaters at the time, we have The Matrix Revolutions, Brother Bear, Scary Movie 3, Radio, and Love Actually. Man, I think I saw 2 of those movies and maybe 3 of those in theaters.
It's kind of crazy to think that I don't really like Love Actually, but it's crazy to think that both Elf and Love Actually in the same window here.
Yep. 2 Christmas.
Love Actually is one of those few like rom-coms that I will admit that is like a really good movie, I thought.
Well, Well, what's that song he sings, AJ?
Feel it in my fingers.
I wanted him to sing it.
Sorry. He can sing it.
All right, it's too late now.
That's all right.
Died. All right.
I'm
Well,
not singing it for all to hear.
Come on, you gotta get Santa's sleigh up. No, all right. All right, moving on.
Get Santa's sack up.
All right. Well, that doesn't even
The
make
sleigh
sense.
holds the sack.
All right,
It's Santa. It's magic.
guys.
Can we explain the joke more?
We're talking about beating a dead horse.
Wow, that's disgusting.
Beating a dead
The
reindeer.
okay.
All right, so this movie had a budget of $33 million. What do you guys think it did?
Skip me, because in
worldwide?
giving you that research, I know the
Yeah,
answer.
you know the answer. Reese knows the answer, so we're gonna let's go to Irina to start.
33 million, you say?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say 85.
Okay. Let's say Noah. What do you think?
I'm gonna say 250.
Alrighty. And AJ.
200.
Dang it.
Alrighty. So, wow, if we're going strictly on, oh man, Noah
It's not
wins.
Price is Right rules.
No, I
It's
know.
closest.
Noah
Yeah,
wins.
baby.
I mean, it literally was split down the middle. It was 225.
Oh,
So
wow.
he had 250, you had 200, but it went 225,097. So
Yeah, baby.
so that slides into Noah's camp.
Just
so good job, guys.
226 then.
Not quite. It's more like 225.1 is what it would have been because it's 097. It would have rounded to 1. So
I thought you just said the 97.
yeah, 097. It was very, very right there at 225. So let's go
Every cent matters.
So congratulations, Noah. Insert
Hey.
sound from Halo, the grunts exploding. Like,
The confetti.
yeah. All right. So let's go into franchise
It's a
talk.
stock sound now.
So this Christmas classic really does feel like a one-off type of movie, but believe it or not, there was an actual Elf 2 in the works. It was nearly off the ground, but it was canceled before it picked up too much steam.
Dang,
Because
so
of
they weren't
AJ.
singing.
It was AJ. There were a few reasons why the sequel was canceled.
AJ was like, we don't need another 7.5
Get it outta here.
movie.
And Will Ferrell.
Yeah, and that's
But the children love the movie.
Oh, so
There
good.
it is.
So the main reason was Will Ferrell. He was offered $29 million to reprise his role, but he was not buying into the script. I from different sources, one of them said he absolutely didn't want to do it.
This was very wishy-washy. It's
Yeah.
like you ask one person, they say one thing. You ask Will Ferrell, he's like, I didn't
Yep.
say that. And
Yep.
yeah.
Huh.
So there was some that said he was open to it, but he just didn't like that specific script, but he would still do it if he proposed the right script. Other ones said he absolutely hated it. And I guess there was a quote that he said something along the lines of, I just think it would look slightly pathetic if I tried to squeeze back into the elf types buddy, the middle-aged elf, which, doesn't necessarily mean he wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
But I think he would,
But
it'd
I
have to
do
be very
think that's a
specific.
valid point,
That is a
though.
good point.
It's something where it's a gamble.
Yeah.
You don't know if
Yeah.
you're going to be able to capture that again.
Well, and he also
Also
said he was worried that people would think it was a money grab and
yeah,
not as good as the original.
and diminish the first one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I
And
think
then
it
he
would.
starred in Anchorman 2.
I think it would diminish the first one, though.
Yeah.
But Anchorman 2, that's like a comedian ensemble.
Yeah.
That makes
Yeah.
sense.
It's a
He's
different,
still definitely
it's a
the
different
lead.
thing.
Well, he is, but
I don't know
but
why.
it works.
Yeah, it does.
I love
I don't
it.
know why. I always have this memory of, just I feel like I always heard that Will Ferrell, was so adamant that he would not ever play Elf again. Like he doesn't appear in that costume for any events or anything because he just hated being that character.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of people that say that. But there are if you look up other videos, there are some people that claim that he did want to do it.
Yeah, there's some
I don't
people
know.
that spin it as oh no, it would mess with the integrity of the original movie.
It would, though.
Which I agree with.
Yeah.
that.
So you also don't know if someone had a conversation with him where he maybe said something in the negative where he's like, no, I don't think it would really be a good idea for this reason. But then it was kind of splashed out there as, oh yeah, he would never do that. And he thinks it would be awful.
Yeah.
Kind of exaggerating what you say, even though you're just being honest.
Yeah. There's also hearsay that he didn't get along with Jon Favreau, which
I don't
I
Is
don't
that a
believe
thing?
it.
I didn't see that.
Well, and I saw the rap.
I've seen that a few different places.
Oh, man.
And I saw the rap photo where they're all like, he's right next to Jon Favreau at the end of the movie taking that picture. They look happy. I'm like, what happened? Like,
Well, look, we've all taken photos with people we may not like
I know,
as much.
but-
I feel
so.
like both of them are pretty cheery people naturally, though.
Yeah, that's what surprises me the most.
yeah, like apparently in Will Ferrell's contract, and I don't know any of this for fact, but it said in his contract, like, I'll do an Elf too, as long as Jon Favreau's not directing
No
it.
way.
Like, no, that you can find that if you look online. Like, when I was looking up sequel information for this, that came up a lot for some reason.
Man.
Which is weird. I don't. It's something I choose not really to believe because there's no verifiable like sources for that proves this. There's, as I said, it's a lot of wishy-washy hearsay about why there's not a sequel.
Yeah,
for
I
this
haven't
one.
heard a direct quote that like an actual long quote. There's a lot of people talking about Will saying things.
Yeah.
So there's that, and also I could imagine Jon Favreau having a lot of pressure on set for Elf. So who knows, maybe if he kind of rubbed him the wrong way in some factor, but he's the director, and this project was going through a lot of speed bumps.
It did. And they had him redo scenes twice with different colored suits and stuff. So
I could imagine him being a little on edge. So
But it's been
throwing that out
20
there.
years,
Yeah, no,
basically.
it's like that doesn't mean he's like a bad person. It's just I could imagine the sheer amount of stress causing me to maybe be a little more upset with people than I normally would.
on a slightly funnier note, James Caan was actually very excited to star in the sequel. He actually had more quotes than I could find Will Ferrell talking about it.
Yeah.
But he was ecstatic about getting to be in a franchise movie, which is more of a joke that he didn't get to survive
any of them.
yeah, The Godfather. But he also was saying that him and the rest of the cast that he was friends with were all talking about doing the sequel, so they were going to get quite a few of them back. Another funny thing about James Caan is that he was excited to meet Will Ferrell the first time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and that he was actually very disappointed because he was expecting more of an outgoing personality. I think the quote was like he wanted to take him out to get drinks and stuff. And Will Ferrell's a little bit more reserved than he was expecting.
Right.
And it was like, man, this guy's not a bombastic freak like I thought. But anyway, I think James Caan still really likes Will Ferrell.
There are probably a lot of comedians
Yeah,
out
not
there
anymore.
who are
He's
like,
passed
that's
away.
the story
I
of my
forgot.
life.
Yeah, rip James Caan.
Yep.
Let's see. Well, we may not have gotten a sequel, but there has been a successful Broadway adaptation and an animated television special produced by Warner Brothers starring Jim Parsons and Mark Hamill. So there's that.
You know who I don't care about?
Jim Parsons?
Jim Parsons.
Who is that?
The guy
He's a guy from
Big Bang Theory.
Big Bang Theory, the Sheldon. Yeah.
Does he play Elf?
Yeah, I think he does.
No,
Yeah.
no.
I don't care.
I
about
haven't
him.
I haven't checked, but I think he was the star bill on
I
the
just don't like
Wikipedia
anything
page.
about Big Bang Theory.
That's me too.
Yeah.
That's me too.
I haven't really watched it, so
It's just a show that when I watch it, I
no
don't.
comment.
Why are we talking about Big Bang Theory?
Because
Well, Jim Parsons is one of those actors that he's always Jim Parsons in
Yeah.
whatever he is. Like you can't distinguish him as from the character. I don't
Right.
know.
Yeah.
I agree.
He was good in the Muppet movie.
Yeah.
Anyway,
To close off, though, I think I'm not. I mean, you close off when you want, but I think this is something I'm very glad does not have a sequel.
oh, me too.
Me
Me
too.
as well.
Like,
100%.
It's
Like,
a special, like in its own place.
Yeah, don't touch it.
It's
Like,
it's finished. It's done.
Can you
Story
name a
is over.
sequel, Christmas movie sequel that is just as good as the first?
I would. So, this is again coming from me not being a big Home Alone fan, but I
Home Alone
think
2, baby.
Home Alone 2 is still pretty fun. Like I will say,
Pretty equal.
Yeah, I like how it just ups the insanity of the
Isn't Donald Trump in the
atrocities.
second
Yeah, he
one?
sure is.
For a split second, he is. He they're at. I think they're staying at.
It's at a
Trump
hotel. Like he
towers.
walks past him. Trump Tower or
Yeah.
whatever.
Die Hard 2.
Die Hard 2. There you go. Oh, not as good as the
Gremlins 2.
first though. Yeah. There's not a lot
Evil
of
Dead
Christmas
2?
sequels.
No,
Yeah.
I don't think they all intended to have one, and it's a Christmas movie. Santa Claus, not so great. The
Either
second
way, I think this would be a huge mistake to try and do a follow up, because I practically guarantee it would not be as good and could even just make it worse.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It would end up being like a Zoolander too, where it's just like, oh man, this is trying too hard to
Yeah.
recapture what the original had. You just
Yeah.
can't do it.
Well, you don't want to see Will Ferrell in yellow Lululemons?
Well, that I do want to see. I'm just like, can he still rock them? That's my concern.
I mean, does it matter? He would rock him.
Yeah.
He was rocking
Yeah.
it when he was 38 in this movie or whatever he was. Well, let's go ahead and close out now. Coming up next, you're going to be checking out Unbreakable.
And you didn't make the pitch for why this fits in with your
Oh, whoops.
superhero status. It's complicated.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
there's a very loose connection.
is
but
complicated.
obviously- It's complicated. He is a hero because he brings the spirit of Christmas to
Yeah.
everyone's hearts.
There you
There
go.
All right, it's in the miniseries. Makes sense.
Boom.
And it's complicated because, like, what superhero movie is Christmas related?
Exactly.
Die Hard.
It's not a
It's not a
superhero
superhero
movie.
I think it is.
Jingle all the way.
Jingle, yeah, that's the one I was making an argument for. I think
Grinch
there's.
is
I know, I'm
close.
joking.
I actually was though, because the whole movie is about him getting a superhero action figure. But yeah.
The Turbo Mando.
Grinch, a little bit.
Grinch a little bit.
All right. Well, we got all these Christmas movies. We got to pick one. We ended up with Elf. I had a blast. Thank you all for doing it with me and letting me host this Christmas special.
Yeah,
You
it
did
was
great.
fun.
You did
All
Yeah,
great.
good job.
And with that, and away we go.
Goodbye.
I love you. I love you. I love you.